What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Pick Six Podcast, CBS Sports Daily NFL Podcast. I'm Will Brinson. I'm your host. Time to do some Week 14 early betting trends. Joining me to do so, John Breech. What's up, Breech? Hair looks darker.
Well, you know why, Will? Because I was going to diet. And then I decided, no, I'm not going to. And then it looked darker anyway, so it looks like I did. So I don't even know what to think now. But look, I promise you all the grays are still here. My hair, I took a shower like an hour ago. That might be it. You know, your hair gets damp. It looks a little darker.
Sure. Yeah.
This is my first shower in like a month. My God, I needed it.
Yeah, you smell terrible. Let's dive in. Your early best bets, you've been crushing them for the last few weeks. How'd you do this past week?
2-0-1 so far, but the last one is Saints Buccaneers Monday night. So doing good. Yeah. Doing good.
All right, cool. Very cool. Let's start in the NFC East, where you are taking a matchup between a team that tied last week and a team that truck sticked the Tennessee Titans and the Philadelphia Eagles to cover against the Giants. Eagles -6.5, an early best bet for you.
Yeah, look, as someone who lives in Nashville and watches the Titans every single week, let me just say they don't get truck sticked too often. We saw them play the Chiefs with a backup quarterback. They took Kansas City to overtime. We saw them play the Bengals. They lost 20-16. These are games they could have won. They played the Eagles. They got their butt kicked. Look, the Eagles are getting hot at the right time. There's no real good way to go about trying to stop their offense. If you say, hey, we're going to stop the pass, they'll just run all over you. If you say, hey, we're going to stop the run, they'll just throw the ball on you. It's just the offense is too dynamic, and 6.5 points is a lot in a divisional game. So it does scare me a little bit. But man, the Eagles are just so good right now that I think they can beat almost anyone by a touchdown. And so I like them in this game, especially because the Giants aren't very this game turns into a shootout. The Giants are going to be able to keep up.
Yeah, very nice. We have the Eagles. It's at 6.5. I actually think I believe I put this one down as one that I think will move. So we just talk about that now. I just wouldn't be surprised at all if we saw the Eagles line move up past 7. Now, granted, they're coming off this huge game. It's a little bit of a letdown spot, but we'll have to see what happens with Sunday Night Football. They're still trying to keep pace with the Cowboys, and they want to try and get that number 1 seed in the NFC. And so, this is a huge game. The Giants tied against Washington. I don't know that they're they had a lot of chances to win, but you have to feel like they're probably a little deflated to tie that game, knowing that they have to play Washington again in 2 weeks. And while Washington's on a bye, they have to play Philly, which is just not an easy task at all. The defensive line had a field day. We got after Taylor Heineke. I think they'll struggle a lot more to get after Jalen Hurts. He's running the ball really well and throwing the ball throwing the ball very well also as well. I can think this line could move over 7. So if you want it, this is certainly one to jump on now.
Yeah, and we talk about jumping on them, Brinson. Last Sunday, when we were talking about Seahawks-Rams, the Seahawks were only favored by 4 on Sunday. That line eventually moved to 8.5. So if you grabbed it last Sunday, at least you got a push and didn't lose money.
Well, and it came back down to 6.5 at close, which was a little weird. So it just tells you that initial line was pretty spot on. They did, in fact, win by 4 in that matchup. Next up for you, Breech, is the Tennessee Titans. To cover the Jaguars. Titans -3.5.
Yeah, we just talked about this Titans team and how they got destroyed by the Eagles. But you know what? If there's a perfect bounce back game for Tennessee, it is playing Jacksonville. If the Titans are playing the Jaguars, I am betting on Tennessee. I don't care what the point spread is. Tennessee has won 5 straight games against Jacksonville. And Brinson, they have won those 5 games by an average of 16.8 points per game. These games are not close. Mike Vrabel just knows how to attack Jacksonville's offensive personnel. They have a lot of success. Jacksonville doesn't do a great job of slowing down Derrick Henry. And after losing 2 in a row, the Titans need a bounce back. And I think they are going to get it in this spot. I think they win by, I would probably take this up to 6. I mean, I really like Tennessee.
Jeez. Yeah. I mean, this could be a pretty big bounce back spot for the Titans, I think. And I wouldn't be surprised if this line moved up either. Jacksonville, they got truck sticked by the Lions, which is just it's not great. They had a chance to get 5-7-1, and the Titans just be like 2.5 games back of the Titans with this matchup going on. And now instead it's like that beat down by the Lions. You got to deal with the Titans who know that, they can finish. They can essentially end the division. Excuse me, Jacksonville would have gotten to 5-7. I'm sorry, that's India. They can kind of end the division with a win against Jacksonville, I feel like. And Derrick Henry could go nuts in this game also. So I tend to agree with you there that we can see this line move up as well. There you go. Titans.
Yeah, and like you said, look, Tennessee, after they've lost these last 2 games, they are now 7-5, which is not where they want to be. Jacksonville's 4-8. It is like essentially if Indy loses Sunday night, which we don't know, but because we record this at halftime, but this is, like you said, a chance to put it away. So I think they'll be motivated.
Yeah, for sure. The Jets plus 9.5 to cover against the Buffalo Bills is your third one.
Yeah, this to me feels like just a gigantic point spread. Look, the last time these two teams played came back in week 9, and the Jets won with Zach Wilson as their quarterback. And you know why they won, Brinson? Because the Bills struggled to move the ball against New York's defense. And look, we can point to Josh Allen's injury, but that didn't happen until very late in the game. So he struggled for 3.5 quarters before he got injured, and Buffalo only scored 17 points. So I think that the Jets defense could give them some fits again. I think the Bills are going to have a tough time scoring points. I can't see them scoring more than, say, 27. And if they get there, the Jets would just have to get to 18, 19, 20. So I do think the Jets can keep this in single digits. So I like New York in this spot.
I dig it. I think the Jets actually could move down. I just think that this is Mike White has got this team playing a lot more, not safe, but just a little more even keeled on offense. Garrett Wilson came out after the game and was like, I'll ride or die with this Mike White guy. 9.5 is a ton of points for a divisional game, especially when the Jets already beat this team once. So I think, I don't think it's going to get down to like 7 or anything like that, but I just could see it I could see it moving a little bit. And so if you're getting 9.5 points, look, could the Bills absolutely blast the Jets? Of course. That wouldn't be shocking. The Bills are a good football team. They have, extremely high ceiling. But I just think we could, I think the Jets could keep it close. I tend to like the 9.5, and I think that's one that could move as well. By the way, Zonovan Knight, my boy, pretty good for the Jets in that game. Baby. And finally, you've got the Raiders covering 5.5 against the Rams.
Yeah, Brinson, the Raiders are one of the hottest teams in football. They've won 4 games in a row, but I feel like it's kind of flown under the radar because of how bad they were to start the season and all the Josh McDaniels on the hot seat talk. And everybody was ready to fire them, even though they were losing all their games by just 1 score. And now they've kind of bounced back. We just saw them beat the Chargers. We've seen them beat the Seahawks. They have just played really well over the past few weeks. And the flip side of this is that
they've won 3 games in a row.
Or 3 of their past 4?
4 of their past 6.
4 of their past 6.
Remember, they lost to the Colts and beat the Broncos, Seahawks, and Chargers. But still, three wins in a row after after the Saturday loss, it was like, all right, that's it. Like that's the breaking point. That's the straw that broke the camel back. And then they have managed to put together 3 pretty impressive performances.
Right. And 2 of those, they were underdogs against the Broncos, and that was on the road. They were underdogs against the Seahawks. That was on the road. And then obviously they beat the Chargers at home. They're going back on the road on a short week, Thursday game. And so I think one thing that might scare people away from betting against the Rams is how well they played against the Seahawks. But look, that's a divisional game. Crazy things happen in divisional games. I think this is going to be the game where we see how bad the Rams really are, especially if Aaron Donald can't play. Obviously, Matthew Stafford won't be out there. So I really like the Raiders in this spot. You have a bad Rams team that only has 4 days to prepare, and you have a Raiders team that is just firing on all cylinders right now. So I like Vegas here.
Yeah, when you said that they won 4 in a row, I was like, I didn't know that. Obviously there's 3, but I still didn't. I don't think that even registered to me.
That was me pre-predicting the Rams win.
Right.
That's going to be the 4th win in a row.
Yeah. I'm not knocking you. Yeah, I know what you're saying. I'm not knocking you. I'm not trying to call you out on it. I'm just saying I don't think I'd even realize that I knew they'd won 3 in a row, but you're to your point. They're just not getting. They're not getting the buzz of a team that's actually won games. We think of the Raiders as a team that it's one of those situations where a lot of times we don't change our priors during the season. You don't change. You need to adjust your opinion throughout the season. You can't just rely on what happened early on in the year to inform you about what might happen the rest of the way. And yeah, look, I mean, they're not going to make the playoffs, and they're not going to be, not going to the division hunt or anything like that. But I mean, they're going to be 5-7 after this week, and that's like if you go 500, if Josh McDaniels goes 500 his first year, I think that's or 8-9 or 9-8, whatever it is. I think that's pretty successful. And you have a spot here where you're playing a Rams team that they said Matthew Stafford's season is over. They put him on IR, effectively ending his season. Sean McVay said after the game, he's like, it's a sort of a spinal contusion type of thing. So he's going to be done. Cooper Kupp, there's no chance they're going to bring him back. Aaron Donald, I think they're basically sitting out. They're sitting everybody and saying, look, lost season, coming off a Super Bowl win. Let's move on to next year. And there you have it. So I think while the team played hard and fought hard in this like immediate sort of we're shutting everybody down game against in a divisional game against the Seahawks. And by the way, a Bobby Wagner revenge game. I forgot to factor that in. I don't know that they're going to be as motivated to play against the Raiders, especially knowing that the season is basically over. So I think that is a pretty good look. All right, let's take a break and we come back. Some lines that might move next. So I mentioned the Eagles. I actually think I mentioned the Jets too. Oh wow! So I'm going to need to come up with a couple more because I only have one more that I found that I thought was really going to move. I thought the Steelers line, and it has moved. I believe they were a pick 'em. The Steelers are now -1.5. So that line has moved substantially. Obviously, Lamar Jackson hurt. I think that's probably a reflection of this. I don't know that it was going to get to like 3, but I tend to like the Steelers in this spot, even though Tyler Huntley was a capable backup last year. The Ravens are pretty banged up right now, pretty beat down and not playing great football. The Steelers, not that they're an awesome team, but Kenny Pickett's been pretty good this year. Serviceable, some mistakes at times. Total of 38. I just think if this did get to 3, I would want I don't want to lay 3 with the Steelers in a divisional matchup like this. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I wouldn't either. And the interesting thing though is that we saw Lamar Jackson get injured last season. And Tyler Huntley went in and played pretty well. There was a couple 1-point losses in there. I know we had one to the Packers. And so there might not be a huge drop-off from Lamar to Huntley, at least for this game. And maybe you have that benefit because the Steelers know Lamar Jackson well. They're a division rival. So it will be interesting to see how this point spread moves over the course of the week.
Indeed. I'm just going to note too, I think the total in Minnesota and Detroit will probably keep climbing. It's at 52.5. Detroit can score. Minnesota's got a decent defense, but not a great defense. And the Vikings should be able to score at will on the Lions. Trevor Lawrence got banged up. The Jaguars could have scored a lot more points. That easily got over. It's at 52.5 right now. Probably open a little bit lower. I think we could see it climb. I mean, I don't know if it's going to get to like 55 or anything like that, but it could tick up a point or so. That wouldn't surprise me at all. And then, this is the other thing too, is, this is the time of year where start watching the weather. Nothing right now in Buffalo, just sort of looking at, possible weather spots, but like, Cincinnati, you can get, I mean, Cincinnati better than me, but I mean, like, sometimes you can get some nasty weather in Cincinnati. For instance, this looks like it's gonna be sloppy high of 48, rainy, not a ton of wind for that game between the Bengals and the Browns. Not that anybody's going to really be interested in taking the under in the Bengals Browns game, which really that total in the Chiefs Bengals game should have gone way over. Anything else stand out to you, Breech?
No, except that I will stay far away from that Bengals Browns game because the Bengals always seem to struggle against the Brownies.
Yes, they do. Some interesting totals out there for this week. Some interesting point spreads. If you got questions about them, tweet at us at Will Brinson at John Breech.
Tweet.
And make sure and check out the post-game Sunday Night Football recap show where we break down the entire week. For Breech, I'm Brinson. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Talk to you guys later.